Hi, I'm Mary, a librarian and book reviewer with a focus on stories written for kids, tweens, and teens. Today, I am joined by three authors. Karl Buechner is a groundbreaking musician and earth animal rights activist known for his bands Earth Crisis and Freya. Jeremy Mueller is an artisan, baker, entrepreneur, and father of four. His builds have been featured in international publications. And Keith Ward is a teacher, comic writer, and board game designer slash author. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for coming today.
Hey, thank you so much for having us.
So tell us a little bit about the Unraveling.
The Unraveling is based off of a short story I put together and presented to Jeremy and Keith as a way to expand the world into a full-fledged novel. And we basically wrote the book the same way a band writes a record. You know, we each brought our own ideas to it, and it really is collectively ours.
We started the project we decided to. Jeremy called me. He's like, "You want to write a book?" And I was like, "Yeah." It was like a weird Monday, so I was like, "Let's do that." And then none of us really had a clue what we were doing. And then we got together, and it was about 10 years ago this month. Yeah, that we started just like the way a couple dudes might like play darts or go bowling or whatever grown men do, and we decided to do this instead. And so this is really kind of the fruition of a labor that I don't know if any of us had a sense of where we were headed, but it's super exciting to be here. It's really neat.
I think we knew the story we wanted to tell, but the mechanics as to how to put it together, that's something that we learned on the journey.
So as you were putting this together, you said it's been 10 years in the making now.
Mhm.
And it's definitely, it doesn't have three individual voices. It has its own unique voice. So how did that kind of come together? And did it take a longer time at the beginning, or did you have more of a sense of how it would flow?
Well, I think like Keith had said and Karl both they said, we really didn't know kind of like what we were doing. We I wouldn't say we kind of struggled with I think the flow of the writing at first, but as time like went on and we progressed and became stronger writers, we found that voice. And the way we write, I think is pretty unique. What we do is we coined this little phrase. We call it the three filter process. We will come up with an idea. We will all brainstorm on where we want to take the adventure next, and one of us will take on that early iteration, and then we pass them along to each other, and then we will give it a read over. And once we all kind of agree that that's what it's awesome. And then we move on. So yeah, but it took us a while to get to that process. But it's also funny because now when we write, we just know each other so well. We can write something and we don't know which one of us wrote it, which is really fun.
It's cool because Karl sometimes texts me and be like, "Dude, that thing you wrote is really good." And in my head, I'm like, "I know you did it, but you're right. I'm amazing."
And this is the first of three. So it's the Council of Crows is book one in the Unraveling series. And it came out on Earth Day. And part two will come out on Earth Day of next year, and the same thing in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
We're working on our math, Mary.
Yeah.
Hang in here with us.
Right.
We can write, but numbers no.
That's okay. So does that mean that the other two are already done, or do you only just have a year to get each of those next ones ready to go?
Oh no! If we only had a year, that would be terrifying. So we're currently about 200 pages into book two, and we feel pretty solid about that. And we're not allowed to twist the camera and show the index card outline, but the rest of the book is outlined, and we're currently divvying up chapters and tackling that. And Karl's been gracious enough to start thinking about book three, and he pitches us notes each week. And sometimes I collapse in tears because it's all too much to handle, but he's forward thinking that way. So yeah, right now I feel like the delivery feels we're on track.
Yeah.
Like Jer said, the process took a while, but now that we have it, it really is fun and productive.
Yeah.
We also wrote a story for a comic book, that is being illustrated, but it's going very slowly, and it's a prequel to this.
Excellent. So how did you all get connected to one another? It sounds like you may be lifelong friends.
Yeah, so I've known Karl for a very long time. Karl and I, it's funny because where the idea of writing came from was Karl and I worked together, and we would drive around in my car, going and doing resets at different stores, and my radio didn't work. So we would drive long distances. So we would literally just make up stories to try to make each other laugh. And
Lots of character voices.
yeah, and Keith and I have known each other for probably around the same amount of time. But I introduced the two of them. Yeah, sorry guys. And yeah, that's so we the three of us have been connected for a little over 10 years now, together as a group. But I'd say I
But
probably have known each of you guys for 20 plus years now.
Yeah, for sure.
wow. Well,
Yeah,
you seem
we're
very at
old.
ease with each other.
We sit in a we have a 4-room office suite, and we have shared the space for so long that we did a podcast like 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden, like before we came in, Carl's like, "Did you go to the bathroom?" Because like halfway through the podcast, I was like, "Oh no, I gotta pee so bad." And so, yes, it really we
Yeah.
get in here, and it is a lot of things fall away, and there's a lot of honesty, and
Yeah,
I think we've heard each other's feelings and praised each other in ways that really it's the same level as family. Just
yeah,
we don't ground each other.
yeah.
I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. It just happened.
He does it all the time.
Yeah,
It hurts.
not on purpose.
I actually cried right before we logged in.
All part of the process.
That's right.
So, did any of you envision yourselves as writers before this project came along, or had you been writing other things before this, or is this something you've come into? And then, do you see yourselves now as like writers?
I have to acknowledge that, Jeremy always wrote short stories and poems. Keith wrote material for the stage for stand-up comedy. And I have been a lyricist for well over 30 years with my different bands. So we all learned how to make a point very quickly with a limited amount of time. And I think that helped us once we started this process because it taught us to write in a very, very descriptive way and be as visual as we possibly could. So hopefully when a reader is going through the chapters, they can feel like they're in the room of the character. They know what time of day it is, what food they're eating, what type of taste in music that particular individual has, what their worldview is. So we try to be very, very specific and do deep dives into all those details.
I think from being a writer, I think I've ghostwritten projects before. As Karl mentioned, I toured I was an agent and stand-up comic for a while. I think we're kind of settling in to, this is a thing that we do.
Yeah.
We while we do this, we're also writing a really great project for a guy whose grandfather was drafted into World War II at 47 as a chaplain in Bora Bora, and he turned over his grandfather's journal. So we're working on some grown-up fiction for that story right now, and have some interested parties. And so, yeah, somewhere in the last 2 years, we were like, oh, we write.
It's something that I always wanted to do, but was too timid. I didn't have the confidence, in myself, which, I wish that I could go back and just kind of kick myself. I would write, on my own, but not share the stories. I did write poems for my wife when we were in high school that she still has, which is kind of awesome. But yeah, there was something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but just really didn't know how, and was, like I said, just didn't have the confidence. But one day I was like, you know what? I want to do this. Let's try to make this happen.
And that's the beauty of the team. I think, we've all advanced with our skills, and one of the things that's been really fun working on this series is we put a lot of ourselves, our friends, our relatives, personalities, and histories into the characters.
That comes through, and if I'm remembering correctly, there's a good amount of lyrical music written into it, very similar to Lord of the Rings. It's kind of how it came across to me. And so I'm curious if that is just the lyrics, or do you have a tune that goes along with them that just isn't shared yet?
The lyrics are penned. There's more lyrics for book 2 and 3, and there are basic piano pieces that I've written for those songs. So the tunes are real, and that's one thing that I loved in your review. It sounded like you kind of appreciated that, and it made you wonder what the melodies and everything else were, and they do exist, and we'll be putting them out. We're just trying to figure out what's the smartest way. Oh, like Keith mentioned earlier, the audiobook is being put together, and I'm not sure if we want to include them in that yet or not.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I
we'll
think
have,
there's something that comes along when you have a book that has music, that whether it comes across like on the silver screen or in the audiobook, it's really memorable. Like Hunger Games, there's tunes that resonate with you from that. And so yeah, I think the fact that those exist and that you are considering that means that it'll resonate in a different way with readers also.
Oh man, your lips to the book god's ears, huh? That's about as good as we could hope for right there.
We'll put it out in the universe, yes.
Let it
Um,
flow.
do you guys have favorite moments from this book? Whether it's actually in a scene that happens or just how the scene kind of came together for you?
Yeah, one of my favorite moments is when Ika and Ayu they're getting into entering Sky Village, and the torrent of gleaming steel as the guards are taking all of their weaponry from them. That to this day is one of my favorite, and I remember, and I can't remember which. I know it wasn't me, but I think maybe you, Karl, or Keith, you wrote that torrent of gleaming steel, and I love that line. I just love the image of these two little sugar gliders with all of this pile of weaponry around them. Yeah, so that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and for anybody who's watching this, if you're not familiar with the sugar glider, Google them. They're exceptionally cute creatures.
There's a moment, I forget actually where it happens, but it's Boswell's character. He's a groundhog and he's a struggling performer. Karl's played music very successfully and struggled in his early years, and I did comedy and found my way, but we struggled. And a lot of it is a confession in his character on what it means to be in front of a live audience, doing your best and missing the mark and then finding it. But at one point, he says this line that my dad used to say to me all the time. I don't even know if my old man coined it, but he probably didn't. But it always stuck out. He said, "If you want to know what someone's really made of, just see what pours out of them when they're shaken up." And those little moments for me still. My dad passed 3 years ago, and Jeremy lost his mom, just shy of 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And so there are homages to our memory and to our loss and to the things that shaped us. And for me, that's the moment. Being able to write my father's words for anyone else to read felt unbelievable at the time. And now that people are reading it, it's only humbling.
I guess for me, I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite parts of the book, but one thing that I'm most proud of is the messaging that comes through, or hopefully will translate, when Kashmara is describing how destructive and cruel humans have been to the members of the animal kingdom. And it's not an indictment. It's my goal is for it to be corrective. It's like if you look in the mirror and, oh, I guess I should get a hairbrush out and fix this mess. And that's kind of what I was hoping to get across when Kashmara is describing the destruction of the natural world and the cruelty that and the pain that animals endure in vivisectionist laboratories and everything else that's brought up. So I guess that would be one of the things that I'm most proud of that's in the book.
I think that resonates with a lot of middle grade literature right now. Actually, there's a lot of environmental awareness and conservation that's going into those stories. And especially when it's told from the animal's perspective, I think it resonates in a different way. Um, and especially that there's more coming in the series. I'm curious to see how it goes next.
Yeah, we are looking forward to being able to send you that copy. It's we're excited about it.
We really are. Yeah.
The second book picks up on some pretty wild moments in human history as animals try to figure out what is it these bipeds were doing and why are we here and what does that button do? And someone's like, don't hit that one.
Yeah.
And then the countdown begins. So yeah, we're really looking forward to sharing that with you.
Oh, fun. That's a good teaser.
Thanks.
What sort of advice would you give to anyone who might be sitting on the fence about starting to write a story or collaborating with others that you've learned through this process?
I would say just do it.
Yeah, I would say do both.
Yeah.
Write on your own and get together with a group of friends, whether you're into painting or photography or filmmaking or writing or whatever artistic endeavor it is. Work on your own and also team up with friends and encourage each other.
Yeah. It's like I said, early on, one of the things that I wish that I did, I wish I had the confidence just to put myself out there. And it's okay, to put yourself out there and use that feedback to get better. Don't let it like hold you down or just use it as a positive and really push yourself. That's the only way you're going to get better. And that, unfortunately, I learned that later on, but I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm fortunate, and I'm fortunate that these two guys, decided to do it with me, and we created this. I mean, I would say an amazing team, and we can write anything. We really could.
The other thing I would say that I'd like to add would be to work quietly. Keep it to yourself and your friends and just work quietly and sharpen your skills. There is no time limit, just devote the time to mastering whatever it is that you're involved with.
Yeah, if someone's listening who's on the fence, I would say get off the fence immediately. And be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's
a good way.
That's just a real truth. Like anytime I present something that I wrote to the group, there's a bubbling nervousness that has never subsided. It's never lessened. I've never become more comfortable. I'm just willing to take the risk. And also I'm willing to fail fast. And I think that's the other thing I would say to a new writer is A, get off the fence, B, take the risk, and finally fail fast. Like if I read to the team, I wrote a passage once. I won't spoil it because it's a thing. I wrote a passage to the guys, and they both looked back at me and they're like, "No," and I was like, "But," and they're like, "No," and there was no. And also, thank goodness, because that no, I think, kept the book focused where it could have become muddled. And that fast failure took me 5 hours of my time. I accepted no. We failed quick. We rewrote and ended up in a way better space. So yeah, hop off the fence and fail fast. I love that.
Great advice. And not only for writers, but for any sort of artistic endeavor, like you say. As I've gotten older, that's become easier for me to do.
Yeah.
Where something is scary at first and you're like, well, it's gonna happen or not, and might as well try. So
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
awesome. So you mentioned that you have the 2 subsequent novels in this series that are coming out, and then you're also working on an adult fiction. What other projects do you have going on? Or is that, I mean, that's a lot, so it's okay if that's all.
I'm actually so excited that you asked that because I think one of the most exciting parts is the illustrator for our book, who did 9 interior illustrations and a special edition hardcover jacket and the jacket that is on the soft cover. His name is Zulfikar Rockman, and we're back working with Zul now. And if I'm sure you recall, and anyone who's in the middle of the book, I won't spoil anything, but there are 9 gems bestowed upon the animal kingdom, and these gems enhance insight or power that might currently exist or offer power to other characters. And we're doing a series of short stories that are the stories behind the 9. And Zul's on board, and he just finished his first illustration for story 1 for a character who is named Kaifo. You only meet him briefly, but you'll get his backstory. And then each of the 9 gem holders will be publishing short stories that will have tiny bindings, like almost like European pamphlet style bindings. And then we'll eventually collect those and put them together too. So we're working pretty diligently on that right now, in-house here, and then also with Zul, who's in Indonesia. But just what a lovely artist.
Yeah, he's really brought a lot. And one thing that I'm very much looking forward to, I've always been a big fan of the maps in the beginning of the Oz books and of Middle Earth and Narnia. And when we get to book 3, we're going to go back through and we're going to have Zul draft out a full map that will be in every printing that follows.
Wow, you guys are really busy in all of this, and it's great that you're able to physically sit in the same space and work on it. I know not every author gets that opportunity. How often do you all get together to write?
It's 2 to 3 times a week, but we also write independently at home.
Yeah, I would say recently, because of scheduling, we definitely concretely meet the 3 of us once a week on Mondays. And then Jeremy and Karl will sometimes hop on a Wednesday, Friday. Yeah. Occasionally I'll join as I can. But yeah, right now and also we're kind of throttling up again. So my expectation is through the summer, we'll be 2 to 3 times a week in the room together working.
That's great. And so far, you still like each other. That's also good.
Yeah. I mean, we keep trying not to, but like we just keep coming back to like, you want to hang out? And we're like, yeah, we should.
Like he said, we tried bowling and darts and we were terrible. So I was like, well, let's work on a writing project together.
Oh, fantastic. And a great way to blend all of your unique skills into one final product together. That's so great. Where can folks find out more about you and your books and your projects that are coming up?
Well, A, thank you for asking. And B, you can find out a lot about us by just now. Apparently, you can just Google the Unraveling, the Council of Crows, and even if we didn't want you to see it, it's there, right? Everyone who has something to say is there's a certain democracy on the internet just now. But you can find us at the unravelingbook.com. You can find us at Third World Studios. You can find us at Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes and Noble, really anywhere you buy your books, and you'll find lots of information and click back links to find out a little bit more about us. You can find us on Instagram at the Unraveling Book. You can find Karl at Earth Crisis Official. Jeremy's got his thing, but it's like, friends and family mostly, I think, right? Yeah, so we'll keep that private. But yeah, you can find us any of those spaces, and we so far really loved interacting with fans, the ones that are super happy and the ones that are less happy. We've been thrilled to just entertain the conversation online. So yeah, come join us there.
Yeah, we debuted this book in the best way that we know how, which is the punk rock way. So we did in stores at independent secondhand bookstores. We sold them and we did signings. Mm-hmm. We've been to Burning Books in Buffalo, the Books End in Syracuse, Barnes and Noble, and we've also
Retro Game Con.
Yeah, Retro Game Con was the most fun. That was pretty awesome. That was incredible. Yeah. There was a ton of people there. They were in costumes, all kinds of things that were from anime and sci-fi. And we actually met the voice actor who does Skeletor and Cobra Commander, and he was curious about
the hamburger. Goodness. It was pretty wild, yeah.
Oh yeah, he hit us up. He was like, "Do you have anyone reading your audiobook?" And we're like,
sorry, man.
We do. Next time.
The voice actor that's going to be reading the audiobook, his name is Peter Bradbury, and I think he's done some things for Star Wars, and
he's an outstanding voice actor. His credit list is too long to even get into, but we're pleased to be working with him too.
Yeah, and July will be here soon.
Great. My next question is my favorite one. Which question did I not ask you yet that you wish I had?
Clearly, it's a great question. You just got all 3 of us quiet at the same time.
I mean, who are our favorite characters?
Well, she asked that. I mean,
she did. But you asked like what?
Oh yeah,
what scene? Yeah, what the moments were, what the scene was. But who are the characters maybe we identify with the most?
Sure.
And And for me, it would be a combination of Boswell and Kashmara, because I've spent the last 35 years as an animal rights activist, an environmentalist, and as a vegan. So I really contemplated a lot on how things could change. Is it possible? And I think that there are solutions. Like the older that I get, I see that cause making a lot of strides forward. I see people making compassionate choices, and they're not, those things are not hidden anymore. People are talking about what happens to animals on fur ranches or in vivisectionist laboratories, or they're starting to question things like bullfighting or whatever else that were just accepted as a cultural norm in certain parts of the world. So it's nice to see people start to gravitate towards animal rights.
Yeah, I'll actually piggyback with Karl because I do think it's exciting to see compassion lead the charge. And I think that's true in environmental and animal rights issues, but we did a really great podcast with a woman who's a therapist. And I think one of the questions that we ask in the book is, can it be forgiven? Not forgotten, but can it be forgiven? And I think one of the moments that we'll ask readers without spoiling the text is, can the worst nightmare that you've experienced, can it be forgiven, and can you grow from it? And can you be better and be better for the world around you as a result of those truly negative and traumatic experiences? And I've found in my life through so much work that I believe the answer is yes. And I hope that for more people, the answer will be yes, that I can forgive and that I don't have to repeat those mistakes. I don't have to go back to a life of harm or hurt for myself, but that I can offer a true sense of forgiveness and personal growth as a result of the injury that I've endured. And I hope that we explore that in a way that'll be meaningful for readers, because for me personally, it's been an odyssey of learning to forgive. The end.
Well, like they said earlier too, when we do like write the characters, there's a lot of ourselves, a lot of our family members, a lot of love, a lot of heartache, that we've experienced in our lives, and we poured that into the text, and we hope that that comes across, and so it's been a real, it really has been it's been an amazing, joy to be able to do this. And it is therapeutic too, it's in a way for us, it's like, we can, you have a bad week, or, you have a bad day at work, or you're just grumpy about something, you come down and you just write it out, and and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, wonderful. I'm excited for more from you all, and thank you for taking some time to sit down with me today. For listeners and watchers, if the Unraveling the Council of Crows sounds like a great fit for you, I hope you look for it wherever you get your books. And thanks again for joining me, guys. It was really nice to get to chat.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.